Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 28th day of March, 2024. Well, hope everybody's doing well. We don't have any water at the moment. Turns out there was a leak over by our shutoff valve, and since my husband used to be system operator here, he of course knows what to do about all that, and so we've got it all dug up, and I don't know, well, it's not completely dug up. There's some roots he's got to get out of the way and stuff, but then we're going to head up to the home improvement store and buy the valve and the pipe we need here to fix this. So hopefully we'll get that on here pretty soon, but not for a while yet. It's pretty cold outside, so I'm sure he doesn't want to get started yet. But of course, most of it's done, but there's some other things he needs to look at and stuff. So I don't know. We've not seen the email updating the notice to everybody. They say we're going to do this at 6 o'clock, and I don't see why I need to be without water for over 24 hours. That doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, not when my husband can fix it. So hopefully they'll send out an updated email here and let everybody know that it's going to happen before 6 p.m. Hopefully, barring anything weird that happens. And if not, then if there's more out there than we realize, then I guess we'll have to wait. So who knows how many days we'll be without water. So anyway, hopefully it's just a few more hours, but time will tell. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And let's go ahead and pull the runes. I'll pull the runes here to get us started for the significator for the readings. Significator just means the overall focus of it. And so I'll draw a rune from the Elder Futhark bag when they finally fall through my fingers here, and one's left. That will be the above side of things, or the higher self side of things. Well, we have Hagalaz again today. We had that on Monday. Hagalaz is the 9th rune of the Elder Futhark. It's also one of the 3 Norn runes. And again, as I said on Monday, the Norns are the witches or the higher beings that gave Odin the runes when he hung upside down from the world tree to gain some enlightenment, right? And so the Elder Futhark was what was given to him. And Hagalaz is just basically, it means hail. The key word is hail, but it's the idea that there's destruction within a fixed framework. So it's not something that totally destroys everything. It's maybe tweaking your perceptions would be a good way to look at it. Seeing things in a different way. Maybe it's not asking you to change your values, your principles, just unless they're really off or something, I suppose. But basically, it's just maybe a shift in perception today. On Monday, we had Vaya for the Geomancy rune, and we'll see what we have here today. We don't have Vaya today. Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, we have populace. It's complement, and so whereas on Monday we had Vaya, which was the 2 dots, or rather single dot up all the way, fire, air, water, and earth, creates Vaya, which is a new path or new direction. Instead, we have its complement today, and it's populace, which is a more passive influence. You see 2 dots are equal a passive influence. 1 dot would be a active influence. And so whereas Vaya would be initiating a new path, this is following. And so you become more of a follower. It's more of a passive influence. It's a more receptive influence, whereas Vaya is more projective. And so here, transformation in a way that is either going to get you out of the follower mentality, or it could be talking about maybe collaboration with others or unifying with others. Conjunctio is about union and joining, so that would be really more about that. But depending upon the cards, that's what populace could be saying here. So it's kind of interesting to have Hagalaz both days, and then Vaya, and now it's complement populace here. There's something significant about that, for that to happen, because everything here is random. I don't pick things out ahead of time. I spend a bunch of time before I start shuffling the cards, just to kind of get myself in the headspace of doing the reading, and then I'll do a little bit more here. So this it's all, you know, it's random. So it's kind of interesting when something like this happens. It's a level of synchronicity that I like to pay attention to. So anyway, I've shuffled a little bit more. I've cut the deck. I'm taking the lower half, and let's see what we have. Well, it's all pentacles. And so I don't know, maybe this has to do with my water problem here at my house. But basically, we have the Seven of Pentacles, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Eight of Pentacles, and so we're looking at. Let's see. Let's take a look at the numerology first. I forgot to do the numerology last time. If you go to the blog ever and you read the write-ups on the videos, because I post it all over there. At Stepping Aside. The web address there, by the way, is imsteppingaside.com. If you forget, you can click on more below the video and a window will open up and it'll be right there at the top. But I do these write-ups over on the blog. I also post the write-ups over on Medium, Patreon, and Substack. But basically, I put in there, I noted in there that I forgot to do the numerology, which ended up actually being 6. And so anyhow, I'm going to get it out of the way right now before I forget again. So we have 9 with Hagalaz. We have 7 with the 7 of Pentacles, and the Queen doesn't have a number associated with her. And we have the 8. So that's 24. So again, we have a 6. So I'm going to put that here. Let's see, 3, 28, 2024. And let me just move my tea out of the way here and put this down before I forget. Well, that's close enough. Anyhow, so 6 is about empathy. It's about shared purpose. It's about harmony. It's guidance, assistance. And so, again, we needed a little assistance on this last night, but just to get the valve to shut off, because it wouldn't shut off. It was kind of frozen there. Plus, the valve's a mess, so it's got to be replaced. And so it's probably the valve that caused the problem, but then it caused the pipe on our side to break. But anyway, let's take a look at, clearly the reading is going to be about something having to do with your physical life here today. Pentacles is about our physical existence. It's about money. It's usually manifested in terms of coins. So it's about material security, wealth, inheritance, tradition. It's a very Othala type of a suit, and also Othala would be, I think Othala is that a Earth one too? Yep, it's an Earth rune as well, and so it's basically anything to do with the Earth element. It could be education. It could just be it could be your home, your family, all of that. So everything about your physical life. There could be something transformative today where you need to see something a different way, maybe, and you need to be a little more cooperative about things, and maybe, or you need to work with someone, maybe, or you need to not maybe insist on something, maybe. We'll just see though. I'm thinking in terms of populace and being a follower, or it may be that transforming the follower mentality into something that's maybe a little more assertive. You could think of it that way. If you're thinking about transformation of the follower aspect between Hagalaz and populace. But it's not going to be as reflective, or maybe you need to slow down a little bit and maybe be a little more reflective. But let's just see. Here we'll start with these 7 of Pentacles, and here we see the farmer leaning on his hoe. He's looking at his grape harvest there, we'll say, or at least the grapes growing. It's hard to tell one way or the other. I've always interpreted it as harvest, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. But basically what he's doing is he's taking stock. 7 is a number of observation, and so he's taking a look at what he has, and does he have enough, or does he need more? Does there need to be a shift in something? Does he have what he needs, in other words, to deal with whatever's going on in his life there at home? Is he, in other words, in terms of the crop, does he have enough to sell? Is he going to have enough to get through the winter, or does he need to plant more? What else does he need to do? And with the queen here of Pentacles, you're talking about a woman. I love this queen. Actually, I love her throne. I love that she sits in her garden. I mean, I'm sort of, I align more with the Queen of Swords, but the herbalist side of me aligns with this woman very well. And you see her with her little underneath the little I don't know if you want to call it an arbor or what have you, but she's kind of looking at the large coin on her hand, looking at what she's got, looking at all she's gained over her lifetime, looking at her security. She's just reflecting on that. The Queen's a very reflective influence. She's quiet, she's ambitious, she's the Earth Mother, she's trustworthy, she's wise, she's domestic, she's generous. So she's the as opposed to the king, who may be a little bit more into himself, right? But of all the kings, I probably like the King of Pentacles the best. The rest of them, I don't really trust them, and I'm not sure I trust him either. But he's maybe a little bit more. I don't want to say passive, but he's maybe a little more understanding of the bigger picture, as opposed to the other ones who might be a little more focused in one direction or another. In terms of Pentacles, you have to be aware of everything in your life, and I think probably that king is. But the Queen is just, she just sits here. You can see the mountains in the background. You see some tulips over here. I'll show you that there. Let's see, what else can we see in the picture here that might give us, oh, well, there's a rabbit hopping by maybe, or just sitting there with her. So she sort of commands the elements around her. She commands the energies around her, the animal side of things and the human side of things. She's just sort of that lovely figure that's there and supportive and loving and all of that for people. But I think what we're going to look at her mostly in terms of is the reflective, being reflective about the bigger picture here, and being able to understand what's at stake and understand what you need to do and all of that today. As far as taking stock of what you have and maybe transforming the whole passive side, we then move to the 8 of Pentacles. And here you see a tradesman, a craftsman working his craft. And he's out away from the city. You can see that back over here, or at least away from his home. But this would be kind of an expensive home. So this is probably reflective of the village or the town or something, if not the kingdom. But you really can't see the rest of it. But here he is on a bench out away from everybody. And he's not just working his craft, he's also displaying it for others to see. He's also building his wealth. And so here with the 8, you're looking at leadership, you're looking at material recognition and approval, greater harmony. Let's see. Oh, strength. That's another word that describes the 8. And so I think that when you look at a guy who's diligently working, he's basically taking responsibility for his life, taking responsibility for what he needs to do. And instead of being passive with populace, he's out there and he's being independent about it. There's a certain independence about the 8, also with the 1. But again, in terms of leadership, I think you would liken the independence in terms of leadership, as opposed to the independence that maybe, say, Vaya would have had from Monday. So I think here, again, though, we're still looking at the 6. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. But at the same time, you understand that the responsibility is on you to get things done today, and to take stock of what you have, to just get comfortable with all of it, with the Queen energy here, and understand that you're the one that this falls to make sure that everything happens, and transform that need to maybe sit back and do nothing into something that's a little more leadership based and doing your own due diligence. It's so instead of the transformation opening up a new path, what happened on Monday's reading, here it's transforming the passive side within, I think, taking command of the situation, understanding what's at stake, understanding what you've got, making sure that I mean, in the case of us, do we have the tools? Do we have the parts? Some we do. We have all the tools. Some of the parts we have. One, maybe two, we don't. We have to go get them. So we have to decide, okay, we're going to get up and actually go do that and not wait for somebody else to come and rescue us, basically. And so at that point, then, we do our due diligence and we get things done and we accomplish the task at hand. Again, this could just be something where you're feeling like you really don't want to handle a problem today, but it affects your home life. It affects maybe your material security. If this is at your work, maybe it's something you've kind of been putting off, and you really haven't addressed the situation. It could be something like that. But the bottom line is this affects you in your personal life if you don't. And so whether this is at work or a project you're working on or an emergency like we're dealing with, this is just something you take stock of what you have. You transform within and get that energy going, and to where you can employ the via aspect of self versus the populace aspect of self, and get to work. I mean, basically, if we brought this down to one thing, it's let's get to work. Whatever this needs to happen. But the idea that transforming your perception about it matters, how you see it matters. If it's something that's upsetting you, then it's time to just stop and step away from that path you're on there, to step outside of it and take a look at things from a more realistic perspective. The 8 might also talk about that. Also the 7, getting out, letting things settle. The 7, I think, is depicted by the scales, and there you're letting things settle out before figuring out what you've got. And being able to understand the entire picture. So if you're trying to do something today, you need to do that first. You need to be sure you understand everything there is to know about it, so you can plan what you need to do. Take a moment to do that. You can use the Queen to do that. That Queen energy there. Again, she's ambitious, she's trustworthy, she's wise, and so she's going to reflect on what needs to happen. I think it's just another version, really, of the 7 of Pentacles here in terms of the energy or the focus. And so be an adult about it and take charge of the situation, do your due diligence, and get the work done. Obviously, generally speaking, Pentacles is either going to be talking about home or it's going to be talking about something going on in your work. So if there's something like that happening for you today, then just understand you need to decide, first of all, that you need to engage yourself and transform your perceptions a little bit about how you're seeing it. Maybe some of the way you're seeing it is causing you to resist the impulse to go take care of it. But maybe that just it's just your higher self telling you, maybe you're resisting because you don't understand the whole picture yet. You don't really have all of the facts yet. And so the 7 of Pentacles will be telling you to do that. And again, then reflect on them, figure out what you need to do, establish your plan, and then get to work. So, but again, it's probably going to take a little transformation of perception of how you see it, and again, that may have to do with you just don't understand the whole thing yet. And once you do, you can develop your plan forward, basically. But I think it's just that and I wouldn't say that were it not for the 7 of Pentacles, because literally it's about taking stock of what you got and what you still need to get, right? And if that's just understanding, if it's not like tangible stuff, right? Like a valve for the water thing or what have you, maybe it's just what the information you need to have. You just don't have all of it. And so you take stock of what you know and what you don't know. And if what you don't know, then you figure it out, and then you get to work. So I think we did it. Not too bad. But that's just interesting, to have basically the same energy rune-wise, because Vaya and Populus being each other's complement, you're talking about the same basic energy, just two different ways of expressing it, right? And so then to have Hagalaz be the transformation point, the pivot point, I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting. So just maybe this week, this has just been a week where you start thinking about how you see things and whether or not it makes sense to maybe see it differently. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. And check out the blog again, Stepping Aside. The web address again is imsteppingaside.com. And again, click on more if you forget. It's right there. And click subscribe too. I'd love you to do that. And come back again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.